Hello, Internet. Welcome to Only Kind of Everything. And there has been a bunch of stuff that has happened in the wrestling sphere in the last week or so since I've been able to sit down and talk to you guys. We're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about WWE ID. Now, I'm sure by this point you have probably heard about WWE ID and what it entails. If you haven't, the gist is WWE is partnering with a bunch of indie promotions and they're getting this accreditation as a WWE affiliate, effectively. Now, I'm obviously not a worker. I'm not somebody who is actively in the ring and taking the bumps. So this is purely from an outside perspective. I'm going to say this is on one hand really good in a way. You know, the guys and girls who are going to get opportunities because of this WWE ID that are going to potentially get a fast track, if you will, to WWE, or at least to NXT, the Performance Center, then to NXT, maybe Raw and SmackDown. Like, the opportunities for these boys and girls are, men and women, I should say, are absolutely there. And that is amazing. I have always said that the guys and girls who are taking these bumps, they deserve as much as they can get. That being said, WWE has a history of not playing nice. Look at the British indie scene, look at Evolve. Some even point to say, look at the deal with Impact. You can even go back as far as the working relationship they had with ECW. And you can see that WWE very seldomly plays nice with other promotions. So, while yes, this is good in theory, the fast track and all that, WWE has a history of this ending poorly overall, draining the independent scene and effectively just hoovering up the talent. Now, that's not to say that will happen, but again, history shows that's what this company does. Obviously, a lot of that history was under Vince McMahon, who saw wrestling, I would argue, truly differently than Triple H does. Paul Levesque is somebody who came up in the business. He has a different understanding, if you will. At least in my estimate, he has a different view of wrestling. As he, look at the way he books the product as opposed to the way Vince McMahon did. They are different. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. I hope that I am very wrong on this and that this is nothing but great news for everybody involved. But I would be remiss if I didn't say look to history and don't be utterly shocked if things kind of go south at some point, because that's just what WWE does. And next thing, I'm going to move straight on into switching gears, as Michael Cole used to say. I don't want to say late, but last night, WWE released 3 stars. Indi Hartwell, Tegan Nox, and Baron Corbin. Our thoughts and best wishes go out to all 3 of them, and any who may get released. Sean Ross Sapp was kind of alluding that there might be more, as this was just a first round of cuts, so there may be more coming. I hope that that's not the case. You never want to see somebody lose their job. Just like I said a couple minutes ago, we generally will always side with the workers. It's just weird. Indi Hartwell, I think, was really improving. Tegan Nox, really good talent. But man, Baron Corbin is such a utility guy. it's going to be a big get for anybody who lands any of them. Baron Corbin was able to take any gimmick and get it over, be it the Indie Killer, the Lone Wolf, Broke Corbin, any gimmick he was given. This man just got it over. So good vibes to them, and hopefully within the next 90 days or so, because I believe Baron Corbin, it was more his contract expired. That's kind of what I have heard. I don't know if that's true, so I don't want to aggregate that as fact. Theoretically, he has the 90 days if it was an actual release. So hopefully that goes well for all of them. I could see, Indy easily land in Impact Wrestling and doing some good things there. Maybe even AEW, but their women's division is, I don't want to say it's stacked, because they could definitely use some more talent, but it's built well. It's built well enough that I don't know that adding an Indi Hartwell or a Tegan Nox would benefit anyone but Indi or Tegan just for the paycheck. I don't know if there is a good long-term use just the way that women's division is structured. Baron Corbin, man, like I said, he is an amazing utility player. I really think he could be Impact World Champion. I know that kind of goes back to the old TNA of WWE rejects coming in and winning their top title, because that's just what happened for several years. Man, it's a tricky situation, because you have Nick Nemeth, who's a former WWE superstar, their current champion, going over arguably the most over man in that company, in Joe Hendry at Bound for Glory. And I'm sitting here saying, oh man, Baron Corbin could come in and win that world title again, superseding the most over man in that company. And I don't know why they wouldn't have put the title on Hendry to begin with, but that's, a different topic for a different day, I guess. I think Corbin and AEW would be interesting. He's a big guy, and AEW, for all, everything people like to say, it's still a much more wrestling heavy programming, and Baron Corbin can definitely wrestle, but can he wrestle the higher style, I guess, that AEW tends to market toward? That's, I think, where you kind of draw, Corbin maybe ending up position-wise exactly where he is or was in WWE in AEW if he goes there, because he just kind of seems like he would fall into the same position. And speaking of AEW, Bobby Lashley debuted in AEW recently. The Hurt Syndicate, if you will, because, Hurt Business is clearly the WWE name. Man, Lashley's a stud. I still don't see why he wasn't booked better in WWE. Man, the whole Pride gimmick was dumb in my estimation. They wanted the Profits to be heels with Lashley, and that was terrible. Nobody was ready to boo either Montez Ford or any of them, really. I'm just Dawkins, Ford, Lashley, people just wanted to cheer them, and they ended up having to turn the group face, and I think that kind of derailed plans for that group. And there's, the Root MVPs out there claims that Triple H didn't like them. He made it a racial issue, which, again, I was not backstage. Hopefully that is not the case. So I don't want to speak too much on a racially charged issue since I wasn't there. We are inclined to believe the workers, but man, I hope that it's not a case of racial issues, but back to AEW, back to Bobby Lashley, back to the Hurt Syndicate, because that's what we're really here to talk about right now. And where do I think this group is going to go and how it's going to fit? So you have, I kind of feel like the Hurt Syndicate is going to be the group, the mid-card group, if you will, the top-tier mid-card group. They're going to feud with Moxley and his Death Riders. But I really think that Lashley and the Hurt Syndicate, I don't see them getting the main card, main event slot right now. I think that if they do end up, I do think they're going to feud with Mox and his crew, but I don't think that's the be-all, end-all program. I do think that Mox, his group is basically there, and the story is going to be the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, probably Hangman Page, all turning face to that's the way they're going to go. Probably to a blood and guts match, or a stadium stampede. I think that's the direction they're going to go with that. And Lashley, I think he will be AEW World Champion, but the AEW World Championship is currently mixed into that Mox and what I do believe is going to be an elite feud. So unless Lashley winning the title coincides with the return of a Kenny Omega or something to that effect, it will probably be a year or so before Lashley gets that world title. He will probably float around the TNT title, maybe the Atlanta, or is the All Atlantic? It's their other mid card. Admittedly, I don't watch enough to remember all the titles that AEW rocks. But I do think that Lashley is going to be a world champion AEW. It would be absolutely insane if he does not become a world champion in that company, because Bobby Lashley is mint. The dude is just good, and you can't keep the world title off of that man for very long, even if they put him in Ring of Honor potentially and give him that world title, which, that's another conversational point, because Ring of Honor is definitely not the premier for Tony Khan and AEW. The other thing that I'm going to talk about here, and I hate ending on a less than great note, but this probably should be talked about to some extent, is Vince McMahon's new company that he is working on building. Now, obviously, this is, it's going to be hard for him to launch this entertainment company that he is trying to form, amidst all these scandals and lawsuits that he's currently facing. So likely those will have to be cleared up in some sense before he can move forward with this company that is effectively going to be like an entertainment company. They'll promote movies, stuff like that. I do think Vince, at some point he wants to be in professional wrestling. And maybe he doesn't, but everything that Vince has ever done that isn't professional wrestling has cost him money. Now, you can argue that that's because Vince never put all his time and energy into something else, but I digress. Vince is a promoter. Big slapping men, oilied up, tan muscle men. That's Vince's type of person. That's just kind of who he is. There's not a really great way to talk about this just because of everything that's going on around Vince McMahon. I don't want it to succeed. Vince, you can't talk about professional wrestling and the state and how big it is without saying that, yeah, Vince McMahon definitely is the reason for that. And in a very Chris Benoit, if you will, Hulk Hogan, if you will, kind of situation, you have to be able to say, well, yeah, what Vince did for the business is insane. There are people who won't say a bad word about Vince McMahon because he did so much good by them. But there's also the dark side of Vince McMahon, and I think that's where the separation needs to occur, that Vince himself is a really bad person. And maybe he's not a really bad person, but he's not the good angelic savior that some people will present him as. And I'm not, saying that Bruce Pritchard or something to that effect is wrong, because Vince has clearly done good things in his life for these people, but he's also done really bad things as well. But I think it really is just time for the world of entertainment, wrestling, all of that, to move past Vince McMahon. Not in a don't talk about it, because the stuff he is accused of needs to be talked about. He needs to be held accountable. But the idea that Vince should be getting back into any kind of promotional, any kind of work like that, it needs to stop. Vince McMahon needs to really, I don't want to say pay, because that sounds very vindictive, but that's probably the best word to use. But the world does not need another Vince McMahon product. That's that. But guys, that's all I've got for today. At least all I have time for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Give me your thoughts on Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, the WWE ID, Vince McMahon, if you really want to. I'm hoping, I want to say that there's some good content coming. I have a lot of really cool stuff planned. But it requires skills and things that I just don't have right now. So we're going to keep doing the car videos while we can. When there's enough content to warrant a whole video. Sometimes I miss out on talking about some good stuff. I will be doing a Survivor Series War Games prediction video. Kind of how I think the card is going to shape up. And then hopefully I will also get time to do a full, once the card is announced, prediction video. And I got a couple other kind of wrestling related videos coming up. I'm going to try some review content. I've been playing the new Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, which is good, and I'm going to try to use this format to give a review of that game, and maybe some other stuff. But anyway, I've been rambling for almost a minute now, and that's not the point of this. Guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking through this really weird year that has been 2024. I really thought that we'd be getting some more off the ground stuff, but hey, it is what it is. Want to keep chugging along, and I will see all of you in the next video. Bye.